So our topic, in line with the national celebration of July the 4th, Independence Day, our topic is what is freedom? And of course, at this time, as the country is celebrating freedom, people have a lot of different opinions about what that means. What does that mean as, the politics of a nation? What does it mean in terms of race relations, in terms of equality for marriage? These are all topics that are very current. And so we can think about freedom as the freedoms in our human existence. That's one level. I feel like we're very, very lucky sitting in this room to have the freedom to say what we want to say, to believe what we choose to believe, to have occupations that we choose. In some countries, you may be told what you can do. You may be told how many children you can have, any number of things. And so, whereas I feel like our country is not yet perfect, I think we're probably luckier than most to be living and sitting where we are right now. So there's that sort of freedom, freedom to choose how we live our human life. And then there's the freedom of our spirit and the ability to recognize that, in my opinion, we're never truly free when we're talking about our human existence. That true freedom, complete freedom, is freedom from the bondage of the requirements of being human, the roles that we play and so forth. And so true freedom is, as we might learn in Buddhism, to not be attached, to not be concerned so much with this ever-changing human existence that we find ourselves in, that we're really only truly free when we have complete equanimity with all that is, no matter what it is, where we can not define ourselves by the particular circumstances that we find ourselves in. And so as I invite any of you to come up and speak, it's wide open. What does freedom mean to you? On a spiritual level, on the level of human life, human existence. And a couple of things came to mind. Well, I chose the quote, "I know but one freedom, and that is the freedom of the mind," by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, the author of The Little Prince. And so freedom of the mind is really an aspect of freedom, and freedom of the heart. As we sang in our chant, "The way of the heart," let the way of the heart shine through as we express through this life. And I was also reminded of a little story I heard a long time ago. I think it was from a teacher. I might have read it, don't really remember, but there was a child who was very hyperactive and did not want to sit still during class, did not want to sit down, and he was finally sort of guided and pushed down into a seat to sit. So there he was sitting, but he looked up at the teacher and said, "But in my mind, I'm still standing." So, freedom of the mind, right? So how many would like to come up and share their thoughts? Let me just see about how many people were. All right. And certainly more can come up as well if you're inspired while you're sitting here. So I'm going to leave a timer up here. And does 3 minutes sound good enough? Yeah, okay. All right. So when you come up, hit the button that says start, and then you'll be reminded when 3 minutes is finished. And, don't feel like you have to stop mid-sentence. You can kind of complete your thought, but, then the next person can come in and hit start. So who would like to go first? John?
I rarely get up and talk about the Jesus as is presented in the Urantia book, but there's 700 pages devoted to his life. This is not the Jesus that you've heard of from the Bible. As Jesus mingled with the people, they found him entirely free from the superstitions of that day. He was free from religious prejudices. He was never intolerant. He had nothing in his heart resembling social antagonism. While he complied with the good in the religion of his fathers, he did not hesitate to disregard man-made traditions. He dared to teach the catastrophes of nature and other calamitous happenings are not visitations or divine judgments or mysterious dispensations of providence. He denounced slavish devotion to meaningless ceremonies, and he exposed the fallacy of materialistic worship. He boldly proclaimed man's spiritual freedom and dared to teach that mortals of the flesh are indeed and in truth sons of the living God. While the religion of authority may impart a present feeling of settled security, you pay for such a transient satisfaction the price of the loss of your spiritual freedom and religious liberty. The religion of the Spirit leaves you forever free to follow the truth wherever the leadings of the Spirit may take you. And who can judge? Perhaps this Spirit may have something to impart to this generation which other generations have refused to hear. Can I say, Jesus spoke in ways that weren't heard back then. They were ignored and turned into something else immediately after his death. But he's really speaking for all time.
Well, last week my friend invited me to attend here, and she told me that the topic was freedom. And then the next day I turned on my yoga show, and the instructor talked about taking the breath and feeling that freedom of breath. And I know everybody here probably takes it back to the breath. And think about when you're upset and you're hyperventilating and you're going like that. And then if you take it to the breath, it frees you from that. Where's the start button? This thing. It's not going to take that long.
Didn't it? Timer. Okay. Cancel and
start. Okay. I'm Carol. When I hear the word freedom, what comes to mind is not being able necessarily to be free to do anything. It's the freedom of choice. And I know I don't have control over a lot out there. There's a few things I do, but my freedom is to be able to choose my path and my reaction to what happens. And if I choose, I can choose serenity as opposed to insanity when things don't always happen the way they're planned. So that's, for me, that's freedom.
Jesus did not have a 3-minute time limit, I presume. Not comparing myself to that or anything, but that's my point. Freedom is elusive, it's momentary, it's hard to define because freedom from one thing means you're stuck with another thing. A car, such freedom to go wherever you want, when you want. But you have to put gas in it, you have to pay for the gas, you have to maintain the car. Some people feel a car is a weight upon their soul. A house, a boat, same thing. Such wonderful freedom to do what you want with your property. Freedom to mow the lawn, to pull out all the invasives all summer long, to paint it, etc., etc. What else? 4th of July. Freedom from the tyranny of government telling us what to do, so that we have the freedom to create our own government to tell us what to do. Freedom to let go of the physical, to just be pure spirit. Then you, I don't know, do you lose the freedom to feel the wind in your face, the water as you swim through the lake? I don't know. Once upon a time, decades ago, I was feeling very upset, something to do with some female, probably. And I thought, well, gee, I feel so bad. Maybe if I didn't have this body, if I were just spirit. Then I thought, but maybe I'd still feel just as yucky, you know? So why bother? Anyway, freedom to not be attached. What about the freedom to feel the joy of competition and a game and creating stuff? Talked to a guy yesterday, international peacemaker, who, you know, this is serious stuff, whatever, somewhere in the world. One of the conveners of the peacemaking thing showed up for the planning session and said, we're going to play soccer. And the other guys, the other peacemaker folks said, well, wait a second, this is serious stuff, man. We've been planning this. We have prior sessions. We've got people killing one another. You're going to play soccer? And it just transformed everything. You know, they had the people who were fighting each other be on the same team and helping each other and joking, and it was a transformational moment because of the freedom to be attached to one another, to the outcome. And then there's the main point I wanted to make that got me up here. Okay. The freedom to love more deeply. This is very personal. I'm really into this independent thing, living alone, being able to do what I want when I want. But a couple years ago, then there's this, freedom to love more deeply, which you can't really do when you're being off independent and free. So who knows?
I am free to make mistakes. I am free to be sick when I feel like being sick. And I'm free to forgive myself for everything and to forgive everyone else for everything.
Wait till I adjust the time first. I applaud the recent Supreme Court decision. I also have noticed over the last few, I was born in 1953, the year Elvis made his first recording, and I have noticed over the decades, the last few, a real breakdown, and I love it, in gender role expectations, what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman. I actually have gay friends, something that in the 60s, I never would have. The point is, I think it's just wonderful. I'm not saying this well, but I think it's wonderful, the breakdown in expectations. Abby Hoffman, the clown prince of 60s radicalism, once gave a speech, and he started out by saying, freedom is when you put on a dress. And if you know anything about Abby Hoffman, he was kind of a goofball, but I thought about that. Freedom, if I thought about wearing one of Bonnie's dresses up here to say this, but she said, no, Rob, I don't have anything else to say, but freedom is just, I love what Dave teaches us, which is what other people think of you is none of your business. So, quack, 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 quack. I love freedom.
So I don't have any kids today, so lucky you. What we were going to talk about with the kids today was idealism. And without idealism, we don't have freedom. Idealism is somebody believing in making the world a better place. You believe in it so much that you're willing to work really, really hard to make it happen. You don't ignore problems when you see them, such as people going hungry or someone being treated unjustly. You just want to make a difference. And I'm so grateful for those idealists that have brought us marriage equality and all of the freedoms that we have to vote, to marry who we want, to be who we want, to be a freak if you want to. Hallelujah. Without people that have those ideas and fight for those ideals, I just don't know where we would be. So I have a story. Once in a jungle, a beautiful golden bird had made her home on a tree. When she sang, shiny pearls fell from her open beak. One day a bird catcher came to the jungle. Soon he spread a net, and the poor golden bird was caught in it. The bird catcher only took the bird home and kept it in a silver cage and fed it well, tried to take care of it, but the sad bird did not sing at all, and the hunter never got any pearls. The bird catcher sold the caged bird to a merchant. The merchant gifted that golden bird to the king. I didn't hit start. I'll be quick. So the merchant gifted the golden bird to the king. The king thought, that's a nice bird. I'll give it to my princess to play with. So the king gave the caged bird to the princess. She was a beautiful girl with a kind heart, and she at once freed that bird. The pleasure of the freedom made the golden bird sing aloud, and soon a shower of pearls fell in the room of the princess. A golden bird came to meet the princess every day and sang for her. So sometimes setting things free allow them to shine and allow them to be exactly who they want to be. So don't forget to be an idealist. Don't forget to fight for what you feel is right.
Okay, this is going to be kind of crazy, but I just want to tell you that you can have the freedom to be okay with growing old, and that's where I'm at. And that's where I'm at because I'm in my late 70s now, and I thought, you know what? When someone says, "Joy, can you help me move?" I said, you know, I can't. I mean, and there's a lot of incidences like that. And I was just talking to Randall this morning because he kind of wanted me to help clean, and I said, no, I can't. And then I was kind of trying to explain it to him. I said, as I get older and older and older, I just wanted to kind of tell you that it's really all okay. I mean, yes, we've got death coming, but if you ever read any of these books on the near-death experience, then you know you don't have to worry about that either. And then there may be pain, there may be suffering, but it's still a sort of a freedom. I spent the 4th of July in my backyard turning my compost and watering my plants and feeding the birds and reading some stuff I had not gotten to yet. And it was just, there is and when I sit down, I'm going to think of 100 more freedoms, but there is a freedom in growing old.
Okay, I'm probably going to be the person that really needs the timer. So I was thinking as I was listening about what the common theme is that I'm hearing over and over again. Why is it okay to be okay with growing old and be who you are and not worry about gender roles and be an idealist? And the thing that just kept coming through for me was it was about fear. Well, actually a lack of fear. Like, it's okay to be who you are because you're really not afraid of what other people are going to think of you. And I say that to people a lot, not quite as delicately maybe, because it usually comes out something like, I don't really give a what people think. But that not really caring in a way, not having fear about it, not being afraid of whether people like me or love me or approve of the clothes that I wear or or anything else that I do has given me an incredible freedom. So many things that we do and we don't do are because we're afraid, and I think sometimes we don't even realize we're afraid. We don't tell our kids what we really want from them, or we don't tell our partners, how we feel about something. We stay in relationships way past the point where we should have stepped off that dance floor because we're afraid of what the other person's going to do. We're afraid of what our parents are going to think. The idealists aren't. They see that there's a need someplace, and instead of stepping back and saying, I'm afraid of being arrested, I'm afraid of being different, I'm afraid of the consequences, they just boldly go forward and say, I'm not afraid. And even if I'm afraid, I'm going to do it anyway. And that's one of those things that I think is really important. You can be afraid. I am afraid a lot. But I can still keep moving forward. And I can still do whatever it is that I need to do, and I can do it while I'm afraid. So for me, it's not even about not being afraid. It's about knowing that I can be afraid and keep moving forward, and not being afraid, getting to that place about not being so afraid, not being attached to what other people think, not being attached to how they're going to feel or wanting to manipulate that for them or for me. And that has given me a huge freedom in the world to just be who I am, to do the things that I believe in, to fight for the things that I think are right, to wear what I want to wear when I want to wear it, to be who I am. And I have spent so much of my life, especially the first part of it, just terrified about everything all the time. Didn't matter what it was. I could come downstairs and my grandmother would give me that look that goes, "Is that what you're wearing to dinner tonight?" And boom, the fear would hit, and I would go, "No, I was just on my way upstairs to change." And that was just fear. And I don't think as a kid I even knew it was fear. But that's how I operated in my world for a very long time. And I worried way too much about what people thought. At the end of the day, what you think about me isn't any of my business. I can be kind, I can be compassionate, and I cannot care what you think. And I can still love you just fine. So, yeah, I think I really want to help people not be afraid all the time. So, thanks.
I wasn't going to say anything, but what? Push the button? Thank you, my dear. Thank you. I got that clock, too. Well, the topic is what freedom is. And for myself, it's a state of being that's beyond words and thinking. And I've already broken that by speaking. So I'm not going to speak about freedom right now. It's how do you get there? How do you move from all these stories that I've just heard to that state of tranquility? It's so easy when you take the time to study who are you. You look at yourself, how you got there. How many of you have said those instructions by your parents or your grandmother or whoever puts fear or all that thinking again? That's why I want to get beyond thinking. All that thinking disrupts your peace. Once again, how do you get beyond that? Is knowing who you are really. And we all know the book answer to that. We are children of God. I don't know, or whatever little motto was put in your head as a child. That is it's formed you as a human being. But I believe being a human being locks you into attachment that locks you into all the emotions that we have, the fears, the passions, and say, ooh, I don't want to lose my passion. But passion has two sides to it. Everything has two sides to it if it's informed. And so you transcend that by, once again, remembering who you really are. So I did it.
I wasn't going to speak either. But, okay. Cancel, start. Freedom from what? From the tyranny of others. Most of the time we talk about it like, oh, I'm going to be free from my mother or my grandmother or my boss. But it's kind of more like what I think about those tyrants that bothers me. And so it's like, do I really want to need to be free from them, or do I need to be free from what I constantly perseverate about them? You know? And then if that's really true, then I got to be free from me. I'm the tyrant. My thoughts that I think all the time, that wake me up in the middle of the night. You know, when I stub my toe and I'm mad at the thing I stubbed my toe against, I'm perpetuating this drama, you know, and then I think, oh, this thing's doing something to me, so I'm going to rebel, and that's some false crusade for freedom, right? I'm going to rebel against these tyrants. And pretty soon I'm still mired in wanting to have some ideal of freedom that's not free. And so when I heard this statement, which I love this statement, what other people think of me is none of my business, it suddenly dawned on me that what I think of me is none of my business. And the more I can establish a peaceful relationship with what is, it's just there. And all I can do is try to drive the boat through it, or the car, or my love embracing it. Anyway, now I said something.
I love listening to all this. It's so much fun. My idea of freedom is choices. I get choices. When I wake up on Sunday morning, I know that I have the freedom to go to a place that's going to be peaceful, and that I'm going to have lots of positive energy, and it's going to renew me. That's freedom to me. And like Craig, I have chosen to be alone. And sometimes it gets lonely, doesn't it? But we love it. So thank you very much for everything that you've contributed, not just to me, but to each other. Thanks.
What I like about freedom is the ability to be creative. And I'm going to say, this person there, we all know him, Mahatma Gandhi, right? So we all know like what he did. But the freedom is to be able to sit there and take this person and still be able to have some humor. And I remember back when we were in China several years ago, I got the little book, Chairman Mao's book, and I just randomly opened it up. And he was talking about how crude jokes were like a real illness on a good culture. And I just found that really weird, you know, because what do we do without fart jokes and stuff, you know? But anyway, so last night I was at Top of the Part, and this is kind of for Elle, well, and there was this 20 puns or funny jokes that are so bad that you have to laugh. Okay, and some of you may have heard this. I heard it years ago, but I forgot about it. Mahatma Gandhi, as you know, walked barefoot most of the time, which produced an impressive set of callus on his feet. He also ate very little, which made him rather frail, and with his odd diet, he suffered from bad breath. So this made him, you ready? Yeah. A supercallous fragile mystic hexed by halitosis. Say that again?
Tell us the freedom of work. You just retired.
Oh, I'm not actually retired yet, so next time we talk about freedom. But I'm sensing it right now. It's really nice.
All right, that was fabulous.